The story takes place in New Delhi and starts with an ATS officer named Danis Ali. He has just married the love of his life, Ruhana, and not long after, they have a daughter named Nouri. For a few years, life is good. Then one afternoon when Nouri is 4, the family attends a wedding event. Ruhana steps away to a nearby shop, and in that exact second, Danis spots a man he instantly recognizes. It is Ramiz, a notorious terrorist who has been on the run for years, and who everyone assumed was hiding in Pakistan. Danis does not hesitate. He starts tailing the black SUV with Nouri still in the car, leaving Ruhana behind. He calls his partner Sartaj, tells him Ramiz is not across the border, but right here in New Delhi, and asks him to trace the license plate. Then the call cuts off. Ramiz and his men realize they are being followed, and they open fire on Danis's car. In the middle of the chaos, Nouri is hit by a bullet. Danis rushes her to the hospital. Ruhana arrives and breaks down, blaming him for chasing a terrorist with their daughter in the back seat. Nouri does not survive. After the funeral, Ruhana decides she needs to live separately for a while. Sartaj takes Danis into his own house, gives him sleeping medication, and tells him to rest. Later that night, Sartaj gets a call from his superior, an officer known as SF. ATS has traced Ramiz's phone signal, and the terrorist group is still in New Delhi, hiding in an area called the Sorat Colony. A raid is being planned, and Sartaj is ordered to join. SF also makes one thing clear. Danis is not allowed near the operation because he is unstable and could lose control in the field. Sartaj promises that Danis is already asleep. What he does not know is that Danis never swallowed the pills, and he heard every word. The ATS team surrounds the hideout with strict orders to take Ramiz alive. Then Danis shows up out of nowhere. The commander on site, Mahesh, orders his men to restrain him, and he is right to be worried. Danis blows up a car near the building to force the terrorists out, and the whole area erupts into a shootout. Ramiz and his men try to run, but Danis cuts them off and guns them down one by one until he kills Ramiz himself. Here is what Danis did not know. Ramiz came to New Delhi to meet several politicians tied to a much bigger conspiracy. That is exactly why ATS wanted him alive. They needed answers. Now the only man who could have given them is dead. Mahesh tries to defend him, but the higher authorities are furious about the bloodshed, and Danis is suspended. That night, Danis goes to Nouri's grave. Revenge changed nothing, and he reaches a point where he is ready to end his own life right there. Before he can, a car nearby honks. The headlights flash toward him for a few seconds, and then the vehicle quietly drives away. That interruption pulls him back. As he gets up to leave, Danis notices a wallet on the ground, near the spot where that car had stopped. That wallet is where everything begins. The next morning, Danis uses the address on the ID card to return it. The wallet belongs to a man named Omkarnath Dar, a brilliant chess player who lost both of his legs and now lives in a wheelchair. His house is always full of neighborhood children because he teaches them chess for free, and everyone in the area loves him. Omkarnath thanks him, especially because the wallet holds a photo of his daughter Nina, who died the previous year after falling down a staircase. Then he reveals something that catches Danis off guard. He knew Nouri. Ruhana used to bring her over for chess lessons. That is why Omkarnath was at the cemetery the night before. He saw Danis grieving alone and quietly left. Before Danis goes, Omkarnath tells him the real enemy they both face now is time, and invites him to come back and play chess with the kids to help the hours pass. Danis takes him up on it and starts showing up regularly. Omkarnath tells him that chess is the opposite of life. On a board, you can replay a game and correct your mistakes. Real life never gives you that option. Danis keeps losing to children, but he starts enjoying it. He trains constantly and becomes obsessed with thinking several moves ahead. During one lesson, Omkarnath explains how a rook becomes incredibly aggressive the moment the pawn standing in front of it is taken down. Remember that lesson. It matters later. Eventually, Danis gets good enough to beat the kids. Then one afternoon, in the middle of a casual game, Omkarnath says something disturbing. He tells Danis that maybe he should have done the same thing Danis did and taken revenge on the man responsible for his daughter's death. Because according to Omkarnath, Nina did not die in an accident. She was murdered. He explains that Nina had been teaching chess to a young girl named Ruhi, the daughter of Welfare Minister Yazad Qureshi, for almost 2 years. Then one night she supposedly lost her balance, fell down the staircase, and died from the head injury. Qureshi's secretary called with the news. Umkarnath never believed a word of it. He is convinced Quraishi killed her, because a man's eyes tell the truth even when his mouth does not. Danis starts digging into the minister's background. Years earlier, a village of weavers was attacked and burned down by terrorists. 55 people were slaughtered, and there were only two survivors, Quraishi and his little daughter Ruhi. Instead of demanding revenge, Quraishi went public preaching peace and forgiveness. He said violence solves nothing, and only love can heal a broken country. The public adored him. He rose through politics, became minister of welfare, and turned into a national symbol of peace. Sartaj tells Danis to drop it. Nina's death was officially ruled an accident, and there were 4 witnesses. Of course, all 4 of them work for Quraishi. As for Ruhi, the report claims she saw nothing because she was putting away her chessboard in another room. Danis is not satisfied, so he goes to the ministry office himself. Quraishi welcomes him warmly and thanks him for killing Ramiz and his men, since that same group massacred his village. He even reveals that he personally asked ATS to reinstate Danis. Danis is not there for compliments. He looks the minister dead in the eye and asks how exactly Nina managed to slip and fall down that staircase. Quraishi stays perfectly calm. He says life has simply been cruel to Umkarnath. His home was burned, his wife died in a car accident, his legs were amputated, and now his daughter is gone. A man who suffers that much becomes unstable, and his suspicions are just paranoia born from grief. Then Quraishi excuses himself, and they shake hands. Danis squeezes hard enough that the bodyguards react, and he points out that for a man who supposedly spent his life as a simple weaver, Quraishi has an extremely powerful grip. Quraishi laughs it off and says he plays a lot of tennis. On the way out, 2 senior police officers scold Danis for insulting a respected minister. That night, Danis goes back to Umkarnath's house, and the 2 of them drink and play chess with a rule where every captured piece means a drink. Danis wins, but Umkarnath leaves him with a strange line. Sometimes losing is the best way to win. The next day, Umkarnath visits Ruhana and asks her to teach dance to the neighborhood children for a stage play that Nina wrote before she died. Ruhana refuses instantly. She has no interest in living anymore. Umkarnath simply tells her that she is not the only parent who lost a child, because her own mother lost one too. Her daughter is still alive, but the woman she used to be has disappeared. He asked her to start living again before it is too late. Meanwhile, Danis goes to Ruhi's school and tells her Nina asked him to check on her. While looking through her drawings, he asks where she was the night Nina fell down the stairs. The question hits hard. Ruhi looks shaken and seems ready to say something. Then her caretaker appears and takes her away. Later, Danis shows up at the children's dance rehearsal. Ruhana agreed to teach after all, and the moment she sees him, she tries to leave. Umkarnath stops her and tells her what Danis has been carrying, how he blames himself for Nuri's death, and how he almost killed himself at her grave. Then he talks about his own losses. His wife is gone, and now Nina too, which leaves him with nobody. Danis and Ruhana still have each other. Something in Ruhana starts to soften. Meanwhile, Quraishi learns that Danis visited the school and questions Ruhi about it. She insists she said nothing. Then the mask slips, and he coldly warns her that if she ever talks to Danis again, there will be consequences. Not long after, Sartaj tracks Danis down at the boxing gym and tells him that Umkarnath is causing a scene at the police station. He found out Nina's case was officially closed. At the station, Umkarnath lays out the details. The staircase had exactly 19 steps, each one 18 centimeters high, and now several details in the official file have been changed, including the signature of the investigating officer. The senior officer throws him out of the room. Umkarnath goes home, puts on a formal suit, gathers a few of Nina's belongings from the night she died, and drives out. He blocks Quraishi's convoy in the middle of the road and demands justice for his daughter. Guards drag him away, and in frustration he throws his shoe at the convoy, hitting the siren on the minister's car. That same night, Danis gets a panicked phone call from Umkarnath's servant. Umkarnath has been attacked. Danis and Sartaj rush over and find him badly wounded and barely conscious. He mutters a single name, Wazir. The servant says she saw the attacker escaping through the back of the house. Once he can speak, Umkarnath explains that he heard a noise, wheeled into the next room, and found his chessboard on fire. The attacker called himself Wazir, which in Indian chess refers to the queen, the most dangerous piece on the board. According to Umkarnath, the man is a complete psychopath. As punishment for throwing that shoe at the convoy, he stabbed Umkarnath through the hand, cut his chest, and set his wheelchair on fire. His message was simple: A powerless pawn can never challenge a king like Quraishi, and if he interferes again, he will be burned alive. The next morning, police investigate the house while doctors treat Omkarnath's wounds, and he provides a rough sketch of Wazir's face. With nothing else to go on, Danis promises to hunt the man down. That night, Danis wakes from a nightmare, and his phone rings. Unknown number. It is Wazir. He already knows how close Danis is to Omkarnath. He says he was watching from nearby during the police investigation that very morning. Then he challenges Danis to come and find him, and he adds a threat. He has already prepared a bomb, and Omkarnath is the target. Danis calls Sartaj and asks him to put Quraishi and his associates under surveillance and to tap the minister's phone calls, hoping it leads them to Wazir. At the hospital, Omkarnath already has a new wheelchair and seems calm, with Ruhana there supporting him. Then Sartaj calls. He hacked into Quraishi's communications, and one detail stands out. The minister is flying to Kashmir the next day. Then Wazir calls again with one short message. House Park, 8 o'clock tonight. Danis and Sartaj race there. From a distance, Danis spots a man on the phone who matches the sketch almost perfectly. They move in and grab him.
Look! Bet! Bet!
Wrong man. Wazir calls to mock him. He admits he set up the whole thing, pretending to make a call to Quraishi just to bait them. And then he casually mentions that he knows Danis visited Omkarnath in the hospital that day because he was there too. Danis just never saw him. Back at the rehearsal hall, Danis and Sartaj keep going through Quraishi's phone records and find a strange message sent on November 24th. It apologizes for failing to protect a mutual friend and mentions that a personal apology will happen in Kashmir. Around then, Ruhana brings cake for Danis and Sartaj, and for the first time since Nuri's death, she speaks to her husband normally. Later, while driving Omkarnath home, Danis thanks him because the old man is the reason his marriage is coming back to life. Then they reach the house, and something is wrong. A string runs from the door to a radio. It triggers a recorded countdown. And a small bomb explodes on the chessboard.
उसे सितारों के बीच पहुंचा 3 boom.
Next to it is a message from Wazir. The pawn is going to chase the king all the way to Kashmir, and Danis needs to stop it before Wazir blows the pawn up. The meaning is obvious. The pawn is Omkarnath. The king is Quraishi. Instead of backing off, Omkarnath becomes more determined than ever. He announces he is going to Kashmir to confront the minister face to face. Danis refuses to let that happen and moves Omkarnath into his own house, where neither Wazir nor Quraishi can reach him. The three of them have dinner together, and watching Danis and Ruhana rebuild their marriage makes Omkarnath genuinely happy. After dinner, while washing dishes, Ruhana finally breaks and admits how guilty she feels for abandoning her husband when he needed her most. They reconcile. Then the phone rings. Wazir already knows Omkarnath is hiding inside the house, and he tells Danis that the old man slipped out and is on his way to the airport to fly to Kashmir. Danis panics. He calls Sartaj and asks the police to search every vehicle heading toward the airport. Traffic is jammed, so he steals a motorcycle and cuts through the city. Right before he reaches the airport, Sartaj calls again. Omkarnath was spotted on Ratpat Road after a car door swung open and knocked him out of his wheelchair. Danis races there and finds his friend. He is too late. Wazir keeps his promise. Omkarnath is killed in a massive explosion. And Danis is thrown clear, badly injured and unconscious. He wakes up in the hospital and sees on the news that Quraishi has arrived in Kashmir to accept a peace award while crowds cheer for him like a hero. Danis has seen enough. While Ruhana sleeps beside his bed, he walks out and boards a one-way flight to Kashmir. After landing, he writes a farewell letter to his wife. He admits the mission will probably kill him, apologizes for failing as a husband and a father, and promises that if he meets Nuri again on the other side, he will protect her properly this time. Then he meets his superior officer, SF, and asks for help finding Wazir, arguing that Quraishi must know where the man is hiding. SF once owed Danis his life, so he agrees. The operation starts while Quraishi is on stage dedicating his peace award to the people of Kashmir. SF hacks the city's CCTV network and sets off harmless explosions to trigger panic in the crowd. As people scatter, the guards rush Quraishi into a private room, exactly as expected. SF holds off the security forces outside while Danis storms the building with smoke bombs and tears through the bodyguards. He kicks in the door and starts beating Quraishi. Demanding to know where Wazir is. Quraishi swears he has no idea who Wazir even is. Danis accuses him of killing Omkarnath, fires a shot into the floor, and forces him to talk. Then a scream stops everything. Ruhi is in the room, and what she says changes the entire story. She tells Danis that Quraishi is not her father. Quraishi murdered her real father, along with everyone else in that village. 8 years earlier, terrorists massacred an entire village of weavers. Quraishi was not a victim of that attack. He was the leader of the group that carried it out. When soldiers arrived, he was shot in the arm, and his own men abandoned him. Before he could escape, he found little Ruhi hiding nearby. He covered himself in ashes, pretended to be her grieving father, and used the girl as his cover story, keeping her silent through threats and violence. He told her again and again that if she ever exposed him, he would throw her down the stairs. Then Nina came into her life, and after 2 years of chess lessons, Ruhi finally trusted her enough to tell her the truth. Quraishi overheard everything. He smashed Nina's head, killed her on the spot, and threw her body down the staircase to stage an accident. Ruhi watched the whole thing happen, and there is one more piece. The terrorists never actually cut ties with Quraishi. They were still meeting him in secret, planning operations together, which means Ramiz did not come to New Delhi at random. He came to meet Quraishi. The moment Danis puts it together, he sees Nuri getting shot all over again. His rage takes over, and he kills Quraishi. The news reports that Minister Yazad Quraishi was killed by an unknown attacker. But this time the truth does not stay buried, because Ruhi finally comes forward and exposes him as a terrorist and mass murderer. A few days later, the stage play is finally performed. It is called The Pawn and the King, and it is dedicated to the memory of Omkarnath Dar. The story is about a small, powerless pawn who is loved by everyone. An evil king makes his life unbearable, so the pawn prays for a way to defeat him. God tells the pawn that even the smallest piece can become as terrifying as the queen, the Wazir, if it moves correctly. So the pawn befriends an honest rook, a piece that is calm by nature, but becomes unstoppable when someone harms its friend. It is the same lesson Omkarnath taught Danis, and in the end, the pawn sacrifices itself so the rook can checkmate the king. Danis stares at the stage, and everything clicks. The pawn is Omkarnath. The rook is Danis. The evil king is Quraishi. That is what the old man meant when he said sometimes losing is the best way to win. Danis goes straight to Omkarnath's servant and asks whether she actually saw Wazir the night of the attack. She did not. She only assumed the attacker ran out the back because Omkarnath kept pointing toward the backyard while calling for help. Then she remembers something. Before he died, Omkarnath told her that one day Danis would come asking about Wazir, and when that day came, she was supposed to give him a flash drive shaped like a queen chess piece. The Wazir Danis rushes home and plugs it in. It is a farewell video recorded by Omkarnath. In it, he explains that he had no weapons, no legs, and no power. A pawn like him had only one way to reach a king like Quraishi. He needed a rook, and the rook was Danis. Then comes the truth. Omkarnath was Wazir. There was never another attacker. He staged every single piece of it. He wounded himself. He used voice recording devices to disguise his voice on the phone calls. He built the illusion of a psychopath stalking them from the shadows. The small explosions at his house were triggered by devices hidden in his own pocket. Even the final message about the game being over and the king being checkmated was a recording he played himself, moments before he died. Suddenly, it all makes sense. Wazir always knew exactly what Danis was doing, because Omkarnath had planned every move in advance like a grandmaster running the board. The first move was dropping his wallet near Nuri's grave, so Danis would come to his house. The last move was sacrificing his own life. By dying, he pushed Danis into killing Quraishi. It was perfect revenge from a chess genius, executed without ever laying a finger on the king. At the end of the video, Omkarnath says he is at peace now, somewhere above, listening to his favorite songs with his wife, with Nina, and with little Nuri, playing chess forever. He tells Danis and Ruhana to stop living inside the game of revenge and start playing the real game, life. And he says that if God ever asks what he accomplished in this world, he can answer that he taught a broken friend how to smile again. Then he says goodbye. Danis breaks down completely. Ruhana hears the message too, and without a word, she wraps her arms around her husband and holds him while he cries. So the moral of the story is, if an old man invites you to play chess every day, maybe check first whether you're secretly being trained into becoming his personal revenge missile.